Coming up today, the foreign ministers of South Korea, Japan and China are in Tokyo for talks on North Korea and boosting trilateral economic and security cooperation. North Korea lays landmines along its side of the interKorean border in an apparent bid to stop its troops fleeing to the south. This as Seoul confirms 3 more North Koreans defected earlier this month. Plus, South Korea confirms its first case of cholera in 15 years. It's the first time a local citizen has been infected without having travelled overseas. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, August 24th here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, South Korea's foreign minister is in Tokyo to attend a trilateral meeting with his Japanese and Chinese counterparts. Yoon Byung-se says Wednesday's talks are happening at a very important time as they come just before a string of multilateral and bilateral summits for South Korea and at a time when the 3 countries are facing various diplomatic challenges. China and Japan are in a territorial dispute over a group of islands in the East China Sea, while Seoul and Beijing can't see eye to eye on the THAAD missile defense system deployment to South Korean soil. Seoul's foreign ministry says a joint press statement will not be adopted as the officials have a lot of issues to cover in a short amount of time and thorough discussions haven't been held on the matter. Japan's cabinet is set to confirm a multi-million-dollar cash transfer to a Seoul-based foundation for the Korean victims of Japan's wartime sex slavery. The Tokyo-based Kyodo news agency reports that the money, which is equivalent to around $10 million, will be transferred to the so-called Reconciliation and Healing Foundation set up by the Korean government for the now elderly survivors. The decision will be delivered to Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se by Japan's Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida this afternoon when they meet for talks in Tokyo with their Chinese counterpart. The report says the transfer does not need to undergo parliamentary deliberation. The Japanese minister is also expected to again ask Korea to move a comfort woman statue from in front of the Japanese embassy in Seoul to another location. The Korean government says the statue was put there by a privately funded activist group, and as such, it is not a matter for the government. And Japan's foreign ministry opened up old wounds last weekend by publishing a distorted view of the Korean victims of Japan's wartime sex slavery. The Korean government has said enough is enough and efforts to whitewash Tokyo's past atrocities should end for the sake of closer, more forward-thinking ties. Kim Jong-soo with the details.
The Korean government has issued an official response to claims by a Japanese politician distorting the history of Japan's wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women. On Saturday, the Japanese Foreign Ministry website uploaded a statement by Deputy Minister Shinsuke Sugiyama, who argued, contrary to common belief, that Korean women willingly volunteered sexual services during World War II. The remarks were made back in February, when Deputy Minister Sugiyama told a UN Special Committee that the, quote, forceful taking away of Korean women is not supported by any historical evidence. Sugiyama even claimed the term sex slaves is counterfactual, implying the victims were prostitutes. In response, Korean Foreign Ministry spokesman Cho Jun-hyuk said Tuesday that victims of sex slavery had clearly been coerced, and emphasized that the historical veracity of those events has been confirmed by the international community at large. Cho said the Japanese government should not try to change the past, but rather build from it in the best possible way.
We hope our Japanese counterparts can cooperate with the Korean government in addressing the traumatic past and build a path towards a future that can restore and heal the dignity of the victims.
One such ongoing effort is the setting up of a Korean foundation late last year to help the survivors of sexual slavery, with Japan offering 1 billion yen, or about $10 million in funding. Kim Jung-soo, Arirang News.
North Korea's ambassador to Britain has reportedly been called back to Pyongyang. Citing diplomatic sources, a Seoul-based news agency reports that Hyun Hak-bong has been instructed to return to North Korea and a replacement has been designated. The North is said to be in talks with the British government about the matter. Many believe the measure is to seek accountability for the recent defection to South Korea by Tae Young-ho, a high-level official at North Korea's mission in London. Ambassador Hyun has served as Pyongyang's representative in Britain for 4.5 years, and he has come under the international spotlight for comments that the North is ready at any time to counter a US nuclear attack with nuclear weapons of its own. Now, North Korea appears to have planted more landmines near the interKorean border in a possible move to stop its troops from fleeing to the south. But the defections continue. 3 more cases were confirmed on Tuesday. Connie Kim has the details.
North Korea has reportedly planted anti-personnel mines on the interKorean border, which some officials believe are meant to stop the regime's soldiers from deserting the regime. Citing an unnamed government source, a Seoul-based Yonhap news agency reported on Tuesday that mines were planted near the so-called Bridge of No Return. The bridge is located in the truce village of Panmunjeom, which spans a military demarcation line between the two Koreas and was the site of a prisoner exchange that followed the armistice that ended hostilities in the Korean War in 1953. Under that agreement, landmines cannot be planted, nor can border guards be armed in the area around Panmunjeom. The United Nations Command said it's aware of North Korea's activities in the vicinity of the bridge, but would not speculate as to why the North Korean People's Army is mining the area. However, it also said it strongly condemns any actions that jeopardize the safety of personnel in the demilitarized zone. A South Korean military official said he believes North Korea's actions are part of efforts to prevent soldiers on the front line from fleeing to the south. Sources say North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is likely concerned the soldiers will be influenced by South Korea's latest round of loudspeaker broadcasts at the border, including the defection of North Korea's deputy ambassador to Britain. Despite Pyongyang's efforts to stop its people from fleeing, Seoul has confirmed yet another defection. This time, 3 North Koreans who entered South Korea early this month through waters near Incheon on the west coast. Intelligence authorities said Tuesday the North Koreans expressed their wish to defect when found on board a fishing boat in South Korean territorial waters. The North Koreans are under investigation by South Korea's National Intelligence Service, but are believed to have embarked from China. With so many recent defections, eyes are on how North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will respond. Some experts have raised the prospect of retaliation by the North through more provocations. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, a special investigation team will be formed to look into allegations surrounding 2 high-profile public figures. The probe is unprecedented as both officials will be under the microscope at the same time. Jim Young-gil has more.
The Supreme Prosecutor's Office said Tuesday that a special investigation team will look into a series of allegations involving 2 top government officials at the same time. This will be the first time in Korea's prosecution history that 2 high-profile figures will be probed simultaneously. The prosecution is expected to summon Woo Byung-woo, the senior presidential secretary for civil affairs, and Special Inspector Lee Seok-soo, who was heading a probe into Woo. The senior presidential aide is suspected of having exerted influence in helping his son get special treatment in his mandatory military service, while his family members are alleged to have used the company's public funds for living expenses. Woo still remains in his position despite calls for his resignation. Meanwhile, Inspector Lee also came under fire for allegedly leaking information of Woo's ongoing case to the media.
Didn't the prosecution say it would look into the info leakage case? It's not right for me to talk about the ongoing probe, so I'll give details when I get summoned by the prosecution.
Lee's action was strongly criticized by the presidential office of Cheongwade, deeming Lee's behavior, if verified, as a grave violation of the law. Lee was appointed by President Park Geun-hye as the first independent inspector last year to mainly deal with corruption cases involving the president's relatives and aides. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Now, a case of cholera has been confirmed in Korea for the first time in 15 years. Experts say the ongoing heat wave may have played a part as it creates a favorable environment for bacteria to grow on food. Lee Min-young reports.
Korea has been confirmed its first case of cholera in 15 years, putting local health authorities on emergency alert. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced on Tuesday that a 59-year-old man living in Gwangju Jeollanam-do province has been confirmed to have been infected with the disease. The KCDC is currently conducting an epidemiologic investigation into the patient to look into the ways he could have contracted the highly contagious disease. Since he has no record of traveling abroad this year, local authorities are assuming he might have contracted cholera in the country.
This is a strange case because cholera has never occurred naturally within the country. In the past, cholera outbreaks were caused by visitors from overseas already infected with the bacteria. Since cholera is transmitted through contaminated food or water, there is a good chance that the patient got infected by eating raw seafood.
The KCDC also said the continued heat wave could have contributed to the bacteria to thrive a long period of time.
Sea surface temperatures have significantly risen due to the sweltering weather conditions as of late, providing an optimal environment for the cholera bacterium to multiply and contaminate the fish.
The disease has a latent period of 2 to 3 days, and common symptoms include severe diarrhea and dehydration, and if not treated promptly, seizures, coma, and even death. Experts say thoroughly cooking or boiling food and water is a way to prevent getting infected cholera, as well as general sanitation and personal hygiene. Lee Min-young, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea and China are marking almost a quarter of a century of diplomatic ties. Over that period, the countries have made significant progress in a number of areas. In this special report, we are going to take a look at the past, present and future of Seoul-Beijing ties. Here's Hwang Jie.
At this duty-free shop in Seoul, 7 out of 10 customers are Chinese who are avid fans of South Korean cosmetics. So it comes as no surprise there is a whole floor dedicated to these best-selling items.
Korean cosmetics are really nice. They're easy to use, and for the price, the quality is really good as well.
The growing influx of Chinese tourists has certainly opened new growth opportunities for the domestic service and tourism sectors, to mention a few. But it's not just within the local market that South Korean businesses are thriving. Over in China, South Korean firms are bolstering efforts to penetrate the market using the Korean wave or Hallyu as a firm foothold.
And to take advantage of the growing demand of this market of 1.3 billion, roughly 20,000 South Korean companies are doing business here in China.
South Korea is also a crucial economic partner for China due to a tight-knit web of production. Seoul exports intermediary goods to the neighboring market, which are then used to produce final products. With that, South Korea is China's largest source of imports. While much emphasis has been put on cultivating economic ties between Seoul and Beijing since relations were established more than 2 decades ago, the need for a stronger strategic partnership is also gaining greater attention than ever due to the ongoing military provocations from Pyongyang. But Seoul's decision last month to deploy the U.S. missile defense system THAAD to the Korean peninsula has put a dent in the South Korea-China partnership, heightening concerns that the issue could even have an impact on bilateral economic ties.
It's now the time for South Korea to really focus on public diplomacy with the Chinese people. If we continue to see hostility between the two countries, it will be hard to mend ties.
Experts point out that Seoul should work to keep the steady stream of cultural exchanges with Beijing alive in order to build on the 24 years that the two nations have already cemented. Hwang Jie, Arirang News, Shanghai.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Wednesday morning here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Our next bulletin coming up at 10 a.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.